What's going on, family? It's your boy Omar back with episode number 2 of the Boys Will Be Boys podcast. And I'm so excited to be doing this episode and just this podcast in general. As you know, those who might have listened to episode number 1, that was an introduction episode. And so I wasn't really saying too much. I didn't want to kind of come out with just kind of, I wanted to kind of ease into this. And so I wanted to just come out with a little intro episode and just give a little reason why I started this podcast. And again, it's to just start a community, build a community of men, that are seeking to grow, seeking to develop, seeking to be better than they were yesterday, and to learn from their own mistakes and the mistakes of others as well. And I will definitely be sharing a lot of personal stuff. I'll be sharing stuff that I have been through, stuff that I've learned in my journey of manhood, husbandhood, and for the little time I have in fatherhood. But definitely, I'm so excited to be growing and learning with all of you guys. There is an email address that I have that if you are interested in joining the community, you can join the community and join the email list. And I'm looking forward to putting some stuff together, some virtual events and stuff. Of course, that's the trend nowadays. And so we can do some virtual events where we kind of get together and just build community and connect with one another. And so you can hit my email at boyswillbeboyspod@gmail.com. Again, that's boyswillbeboyspod@gmail.com. All right, that's enough for the intro. Let's get into the episode. All right, so to start off the episode, I will be talking about sex and addiction. Episode number 2, to kick off the podcast, I'll be talking about the topic of sex, which I think is a huge topic that affects literally the entire globe, let alone just men. I think sex is something that we need to talk about and something that we need to contextualize and we need to frame, because I think there's been a lot of opinions around the topic of sex, and not only just the topic itself, but how it affects other areas of our life as men and within the family context and marriage context. So I think it's really important that we speak to that, and I just want to shed some light and what I believe is the right way and some tidbits that I think can help frame sex and how it can be beneficial and healthy as opposed to toxic and causing a lot of breakdown in our communities. All right, let's jump into it. So family, sex is, I think, is a foundational part of family. Of course, from a natural perspective, from a biological perspective, none of us would be here if sex were never a thing. Our parents decided to come together and have sex, and that's the reason why we are all born. And I think that it is so important as men to understand who we are and how sex fits into our own lives. I think that, men are the pillar of each family. And I think it's really important that as men, we understand how everything affects our life, right? Your finances are going to affect your life and consequentially also your family. Your mental health, your physical health, all of these things will affect you. And so I think it's so important that as well we understand and frame the topic of sex. It's been such a taboo topic for so long. I'm a Christian, I grew up in the church, and for so many years it's been such a taboo topic. And to be honest, it still is a taboo topic in the church. And I feel a lot of people are scared to talk about this subject that plagues so many, because I feel that we are uneducated and we are not given good wisdom around this area of our lives. And we end up making a lot of mistakes in our young ages, and that leads to unhealthy patterns and unhealthy thought patterns around sex and how we are to engage it in our lives. And I think that leads to so much more breakdown in our community, in families, in our own personal lives. And so it's really important that we can kind of nail this down, right? I really believe it's important as men that we are understanding holistically of how we impact the family. I really believe, again, that the father, the man, is the head of the home. He is the not the disciplinary, not just the what I say goes, but he's the leader of the family. And I think it's important that every leader must know their strengths, their weaknesses, and they must know how they affect what they are, covering, essentially, what they are leading, which is the family. And you're also your marriage, your wife in marriage as well. So it's important. I really feel as if the introduction of sex and the lack of wisdom around this area has led to many men being, I'll say, unprudent, if that's a word, or not careful enough around the area of sex. And so many of us, as particularly within the Black community, not just the Black community, but I want to talk to the Black community especially today. We have been very loose a lot of times with our thing, and throwing it out to as many women as possible, and it's as if it's like a badge of honor to wear this award for the most women slept with, and I think that that's a very dangerous thing. And the reason why I think that's very dangerous is because you devalue yourself as a man. You devalue yourself as a human being. I think it's so important that we recognize that when you lay down with someone to have sex with them, you are literally connecting with that person in so many more ways than just one. I'll talk about myself here a little bit. I'm a Christian, like I said before. I wasn't always living the way that I should have been as a Christian throughout my teen years, but definitely I'll just say the Lord kept me throughout my teen years, throughout those wild years where all hell could have broken loose and I could have potentially had baby mothers. Let's just say that the Lord really kept me. And so when and even coming from this, talking about this topic and saying what I'm going to say, I in no means I'm trying to belittle anyone that might have had sex before marriage or anything like that, or trying to position myself as a superior because I've not fallen into the same sin or anything like that. I'm just simply sharing what I think is best for our community. And so, anyways, let's move on from that caveat. But again, I was a virgin until I was married. I did not have sex until I was married. Again, I can tell you a funny story about myself. It's funny now, but there was this one girl in high school who I guess was really liked me. I was really super buff in high school. I was like a football player, a rugby player, super fit. Those from my high school, shout out Bramley Secondary School. You remember those days back in, was it the late 2000s, I guess? Just before the 2010 era. It was high school was a jungle. I'll just say that and I'll leave it there. But there was one girl who really liked me, and I remember she was like pushing me to have sex, and I was like really shook. And so we ended up going back to, oh man, my mom and dad might be listening to this. Anyways, mom and dad, hey, secrets are out now. But anyways, I'll continue the story. We ended up going back to my house and took her to my room. She was like insisting on going to, let's go upstairs to the room. And so I was like, okay, whatever. This is what guys are supposed to do, right? Like guys are supposed to have sex. When girls are coming onto them, they're supposed to be loose. They're supposed to just take whatever comes, right? And so we went to the room, and so I was like a deer in headlights, honestly. In my mind, my heart was palpitating, my mind was racing, and I didn't even know what to do. And I remember she started kind of, caressing me and stuff like that, and I literally had no clue what to do. I froze. And so when I say I froze, if you know what I mean, when I say I froze, fellas, I froze. And so nothing ever happened. And so I think that was like the only time that I came the closest to having sex before marriage. And I thank God that it didn't happen, because again, like I'm saying, there's so many things that happen when you do have sex and you are intimate with an individual. You're connected to that person physically, but also mentally and emotionally. You took a path to get to that point of having sex with that individual. And so you connected with them, you spoke sweet words to them, you shared ideas, you shared piece of your heart and who you are with that individual. And now, it's just like that. You had sex, and maybe you had one time and that was it, or maybe you had it multiple times and it was a regular thing for you guys. But if it's not within the context of marriage, then you are basically joining yourself to someone you have decided not to commit to, and you've decided to basically devalue yourself by giving yourself away to someone just for the season, or just for one night, or even one day, or whatever. And I think that is really detrimental, because not only do you have this person in your memory forever now, even if you do go on to get married, and have your own family and have children, but that person has you in mind as well. And I think that it's important that, and so that person has you in their mind as well. And I think that can lead to you as a man, especially in the area of marriage or even single, trying to do the right thing, trying to move forward, trying to, be focused in your life. And it can lead to so much temptation, right? And I think that, I'll lead into this as well, where it becomes, and I think I'll also talk about the fact that it can be draining, right? Although I'm a virgin before marriage, I was definitely addicted to pornography and masturbation for a long period of my life, I'll say. And I know I'm not the only man to have gone through that. Pornography and masturbation seems to be something that really, really, really haunts a lot of us, and it's something that whether you're Christian or non-Christian, like you definitely have to face this demon. And it really is a struggle for a lot of men. And I think that it's so draining. I remember a lot of times being in front of the computer or whatever, and doing the nasty, and just feeling so displeased with myself, and feeling so you gave into the temptation. And it's funny that, I've seen a lot of people online, even non-Christians, feel the same way about this act. And, it just goes to show that as human beings, as men, like, this is not what we're designed to be doing. We're not designed to just be throwing ourselves at anyone just for sexual pleasure. Sexual pleasure is not the end all be all of our lives. And I feel as young people, it's been so paramount, and that's how it's, like, I guess, branded in our lives, that we take it as paramount. We take it as something so important that we have to make sure, like, as a guy, if you haven't gotten laid as a single man for, months or whatever, it's like, it's a laughing thing. Like, you laugh at that, because, you ain't got no game or anything like this. And it's like, that's the whole point of it. Like, you are running games as a grown man to try to get women to lay with you in your bed. And I think that is so draining. That is so draining. And I think that it really does affect the community, because now as men, if we're not focused on building our own lives, and instead on running games on women that we should be treating with respect, and treating with these women who, we should be treating as potential partners, like, we should be valuing them, we should be upholding them on a pedestal, and really, really consider the fact that, this is someone's daughter, and this is someone's future wife, this is someone's sister, this is someone's niece or cousin, and it's when you think of the community that way, it really, really helps you to put into perspective how we treat each other, and not only that, but how you also treat yourself, because we have to treat ourselves with respect. We have to be try to keep ourselves intact and be a whole human being. And so it's interesting that we think that we can go into marriage, having slept with all these different partners, and now you have committed yourself to one individual, when you've built a life and you've built a pattern throughout so many different years of sleeping around, searching for different women to sleep with, and being open to the idea of laying down and giving yourself away to many individuals, now to come into a pattern of giving yourself to one individual for the entirety of your life. It is damaging, and it is a broken mindset. It's a broken, I guess you can call it, system that we've created in our community. And I really think it haunts the Black community. You think about single mothers, that is not the way that we are to be building our community and building families, especially in the Black community. I recently got married a couple years ago, and just even more recently became a father. And, a lot of times my wife and I, dealing with our son, like it's challenging. Like with two parents alone, with one child, it is so draining, it is so challenging, it is so tiring. You have to work, you have to take care of yourself, you have to, put your own mind at ease and try to maintain your own hobbies and your own interests while also taking care of a whole nother human being who's the most demanding. Anytime he needs to eat, anytime he needs affection, he doesn't like being by himself. He's at that age now where he's super young and just wants mom and dad all the time. It's super challenging. And my wife and I always say to each other, like, could you imagine yourself being a single parent, having to take care of our son? And we're both like, yeah, nope. That's not a thing. Like, that is crazy. But it just goes to show how, there's a special design. There is a unique and specific design for relationship and for human beings and for child rearing. And that is a man and a woman coming together to procreate and have children and to build a family and a legacy, to be honest, for the future. And I think that has been thwarted, and we have become such a broken community, the Black community, and we suffer. And not only is it beneficial to raise a child with a mom and a dad in the home, but it's also financially beneficial as well. So I know the conversation sometimes goes that, it's even better for single mothers because, when your household income is lower, you get more of a tax credit from the government. But, if you only look at the financial aspect of it, now you're missing out on a father figure in this individual's life and in this child's life. And, some women maybe just want to stay away from the father just because it's easier for them to get more money from the government. Or, a lot of men will stay away because it's a lot of financial responsibility, and you're just like you feel like you're just dumping money into a family and a kid, and it's like, I could be doing something else with this money. And I honestly think that, the secular perspective and the secular opinion on the topic of sex is super unhealthy, and it leads to a lot of toxicity in our communities. And I think that's where a lot of generational curses will start. I think that's where a lot of behavioral patterns and think the way that we think about certain things in our life, like it causes such a breakdown in the family and consequentially in the community. And I think that if we can correct this, by helping people, helping ourselves as men, the leaders of our community, the leaders of our homes, the leaders of our family, if we can correct this and really begin to discipline ourselves, as Christian men and as non-Christian men, as we come together as a community of men to just begin to discipline ourselves and change the framework of how we think about sex and what it means to have sex and how we engage in sex and the significance of sex in our lives, I think it will change the trajectory of our communities. Listen, I am not saying to not have sex at all. That's not what I'm saying, man. Like, being a married man and finally having sex for the first time 2 years ago with my wife, it was like the portals of heaven opened and the light of the Lord, the face of God has shone on me, okay? Listen, sex is a beautiful thing. But the ramifications of sex, when outside of the context of marriage, the way that God had designed it, that can lead to so many that can lead to so much brokenness, and it does lead to so much brokenness, and we see the effects of it in our communities. And so I think it's so important that we as men are very, very disciplined, and we understand our role in the family and also the role that sex plays in our lives, because it can lead, if not controlled, if not bridled, it can lead to sexual addiction. It can lead to devaluing ourselves. It can lead to us connecting and pouring out ourselves to so many individuals who have no right to be in our life in the first place. It can break down the way that we think about sex, the way that we think about women, the way that consequentially, if you end up getting married, the way that we think about our wives and how we treat them, how we treat our daughters, our nieces, our family members. I think it's all intertwined. And so it's so important that we as men are able to really, really take responsibility for ourselves first. I think that is where healing begins, when everybody decides to take responsibility for themselves first. I think once we can do that, then we can now begin to start healing. we can now begin the journey toward wholeness, and we can now begin to build a stronger and a better community. All right? This is it for this podcast. If you feel like this topic resonated with you, if there's anything that I said that really, really you connected with, please reach out to me. Let me know. Send me a DM on my Instagram. I know in the first episode I said that my Instagram was my personal Instagram, which is fine. If you want to follow me on my personal Instagram, please do go ahead. But I did start an Instagram page specifically for this podcast, and it is called BWBB Podcast. I did try to use the Boys Will Be Boys, but it was all taken, and even all the variations. So I tried to be creative with this one, and the best I could come up with, and what Instagram allowed me to have, was BWBB Podcast. So hit me up on Instagram, and let me know how episode 2 affected you. Let me know if you connected with anything. Let me know if anything really resonated with you, and if you feel like you're struggling with anything at all, please also do let me know. I would love to be able to chat with you and see if there's any way that I can personally help you. And if there's anything that's beyond me, I would love to be able to point you to any resources that I'm aware of and connect you with anyone that can be able to help you on a professional level. But yeah, man, God bless you guys so much for listening. Thank you so much for your support. And if you think that this is a valuable topic and anything I said was valuable in this, please make sure to share it with a brother, with a father, with an uncle, with a cousin who you love and adore. All right, God bless you, and I will see you in episode 3. Peace. Love you guys.